in a bad name. Thanks for doing this. Keep it real. Think slow. We should get through it just fine. Hello, Rider, Donnie. Donnie, hello, Rider.
All my friends know the low rider. The low rider is a little higher.
Okay, let's ride.
All right, welcome back to another week of Muskies on Tap. I am your host, Gus Manti, and this one is going to be a special one. We got a guest back on. We got Michael Hanson himself of Namekagon Area Guide Service over in the Hayward area, guiding on, I think he says in the interview, 6 different counties. That is a lot. That is a lot more than what we fish, but he likes to branch out. He likes to go all over the place. So before I get any further, I'll introduce the other hosts on here tonight. We got Max Manti over there watching the football game and and also maybe sipping on something. How you doing tonight, Max?
I've been doing good, Gus. Nope, nothing for me tonight. Clear head. I've been eating, breathing, sleeping the Chippewa Flowage. That's it. That's the only thing that's been on my mind. I'm not thinking about this 2-teaser parlay I got fired up here in the Panthers Saints game. No, sirree. I've been laser focused. I got muskies on the mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to go this week. Been keeping things clear, little mental clarity. But yeah, I'm fired up to be here, and more than anything, obviously, just as excited to see the shining face, the $1 million smile of one Brian Eckel. Brian, what's going on? How was the weekend?
I'm doing great. It was a fun weekend. Was up north with some family at the Manti household, so had a fun time relaxing up there. Gus and I did a little bit of fishing. He got slammed once. Unfortunately, didn't get hooks into it, but fun to get out there for a bit. And yeah, it was a good time. I'm not sipping on a beer tonight, but we did have a tasty one. We went to like a little Oktoberfest ordeal in Three Lakes, Wisconsin. And
Nice.
I think, Gus, correct me if I'm wrong, it was a Point Brewery Oktoberfest. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was a tasty beer. But yeah, taking it easy with some water on this fine Monday.
Well, it sounds like you guys didn't have any success on your very short outing. But before we dive into the interview, Gus, you have been putting some pretty large fish in the bag here over the past week since the last podcast drop. Not only yourself, but with clients too. So you want to just quickly touch on how this last week went in the North Woods and kind of what we can expect here in the next few days coming forward?
Yeah, I had a few very, very successful solo outings. Was able to put multiple muskies in the bag. I also had a few blanked outings on just testing new bites and relatively new bodies of water that I've only been on one other time. That was kind of the excitement there. I've been diving into a pretty good bite on swimming dogs. I believe I maybe have made a story post of a swimming dog on Instagram or something, but those have been red hot. The fish are pretty much crushing them on the cast only. And a quick tip on that for people that do use swimming dogs, and I know a lot of people always ask, like, how do I get it so that they eat it and not follow it? And the biggest thing that I did with that bait is once it hits the water, water depth dependent, of course. If I'm in shallow water, deep water, it's a little different. I'll give it a big rip and then go into a straight retrieve. So in deep water, I'll give it a multiple second drop. and then give it a big rip. Or if I'm in shallower water, it'll hit the surface, and within a second, I'll give it a big rip. And pretty much most of the bites on that bait are coming after that first rip, right in the beginning of the retrieve, and they're just absolutely crushing it. But rolling into the weekend, had some guide trips each day, and we found some great success. Got 2 first muskies, 1 PB, and another just great muskie just to cap it off just yesterday. It's Monday the 18th right now. Taking this day fully off to prepare to go to the Chippewa Flowage, but yeah, there'll be more on the fish that were caught, post for later. I'll be saving them and sharing them with you folks soon to come on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, I think the other fish also came on Medusas, so it seemed to be a predominant rubber bite for me. Blades accounted for a lost fish, I do know, and it also accounted for many hot follows, but could not get those fish to convert or eat in the figure 8. I don't know what was going on, but they were chowing rubber. And I think with this heat coming, probably going to continue to have that rubber bite going. But I will definitely think that Max and I in our pre-fishing, we're going to be mixing it up as always. We're not just going to stick to only one bait. And if we're looking ahead in the Northwoods, it's going to be hard to say because we're going to fish a brand new area basically to us. So not brand new area, sorry, just like a brand new fishery. And we'll of course have our recap once the PMTT is over with. But yeah, I predict that this shallow water bite, I guess this is what I would say more specifically, that will keep going strong, I believe. So definitely get your baits up into shallower water. This is that time of year pre-turnover that you can get those fish that like to slide up and kind of get that last bit of warm water while they can, and before those weeds start to really die off. That's where pretty much I'm going to be focusing on fishing here until the water temps drop to the turnover period. But we'll have more on that when the podcasts come out in the future, right before that happens.
Now, did you guys want to hear the Vegas odds that were just released for the tournament?
Oh God, not really.
Nah, I don't know if I can hear. I don't know if I can stomach these.
Vegas went a little bit more modest on their predictions, so maybe that'll be a good thing. Although you guys have done well when the odds have been pretty crazy.
I don't know if I'm gonna okay this. Max, you got anything to add here?
Just give us the line, Brian. What are they saying?
They're over under set flat at 1, which that's an easy over pick for me. Is better.
Yo, dog.
Dude, hey. You're the worst better known to man.
Over under on the size of their fish, 44.5. 44.5. I'll save my pick on that for later.
All right, let's dive into this interview.
Yeah. Enough
Fire
of that.
it up.
Fire up the interview with Michael Hanson. Hope you all enjoy.
All right. Well, we're really excited to chat here with Michael Hanson of Namekagon Area Guide Service. He was generous enough to come on. We interrupted a little bit of a fishing excursion he's on right now. We got him pulled up on the Zoom here. He's out on his boat, beautiful Northwoods background. So I think you already win the award for best interview location.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Cool.
That's the thing. So Michael, how you doing today, man? Obviously you're out on the water. So how's the bite been today?
Honestly, I'm doing great. It's hard for me to not be great. I don't know. I'm a pretty positive person, but The bite was actually pretty good today. We had a solid like east southeast wind today. Got out here really late. Got out here with a buddy. I had the day off, and I try not to ever miss a day of fishing. Whether I'm guiding or not. So went out here. We rose a couple real hot fish. Ended up sticking about 42, 43. We didn't measure it. Real fat one. And then I dropped him off and downloaded Zoom. This is new to me. Feel like we're finally in the future now, huh?
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. I'm so stoked to have you on because I think the genesis of our podcast is Northern Wisconsin. And like when I've been following you now for a long time, like you're the epitome of a Northern Wisconsin diehard muskie angler. I know you've been dabbling kind of over across the border a little bit in Minnesota this year, which hopefully we can get into. But take me back to the start. Like when did this all start to unfold for you? When did the addiction become kind of like, a true addiction and you went into guiding and all that stuff? Like take us through.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of part-time guiding when I lived back in Madison, and that was about 9 to 10 years ago. I was working at bait shops. I was, my last job there, I was selling boats at a marina, which was a great, great job until you got into like that September time period where like nobody's buying a boat and you have to go to work and wait for maybe one phone call a day for a 10-hour shift. And I always wanted to be a muskie guide, and I knew it was always tough, but I just kind of looked back at my life and I was like, I'm single. I have no like ties to anything. And I really felt like if I didn't try moving up to Northern Wisconsin to accomplish this dream, whether it worked out or not, I would have been kicking myself in the butt for the rest of my life. So this was about now 5 years ago. I moved up here full time. It's not really an area that I dabbled in, to be honest with you, too much. As far as Northern Wisconsin goes, I used to fish in Vilas County all the time. But there's just something about this area. I felt like it was a little bit quieter, definitely a lot less lakes to fish for muskies compared to what I was used to out into the Northeast. But, I just wanted a challenge. And it seemed like, there's a lot of great guides up here, but there was a little bit more room to grow. And that's why I kind of chose this area. I as much as I wanted to call myself a full-time guide to move up here and start doing it, I couldn't. I don't my parents never necessarily gave me anything, bought me anything to help me do this. So I had to do what I had to do to survive. So I became a bartender up here and just working excruciating hours and fishing as much as I can and getting to know these people from across the bar. They asked me, oh, what do you like to do? What else do you do? Do you have any other jobs? And I'm like, well, I'm a fishing guide up here. And one thing leads to another. You have a good conversation with these people and then your phone starts ringing left and right. And I actually found that a lot of these people that were hiring me, like, wouldn't fish a day in their life, and they just, this kind of sounds conceited, but they wanted to come out and hang out in the boat with me for a day and see what would happen.
Yeah.
And when we started putting these muskies in the boat and, word of mouth just spread like wildfire. And just continued to bartend for 8 hours a day and then guide or be out on the water for 8 to 10 hours a day and just do it every single day. I'm really happy that I pushed through all that pain to get where I'm at now. Because it's not easy. You can ask that to any guide that's starting out. It takes a lot of work, and whether you be, working excruciating hours or living in horrible conditions, showering with baby wipes in the porta potty outside of the flipping boat launch. It's a humbling experience.
I think you're doing a lot of what people that listen to this podcast probably dream about, honestly. I know I look forward to the weekends where Brian, Gus, and I, go up north. It's like we call them little mini muskie benders. Gus is living it now as a guide, but like same kind of shit, right? 3 straight days. You're not showering. You're sleeping a few hours here and there. And it's just a blast.
Absolutely.
It's like the best.
Yeah. And that's why we do it. And it's everybody knows how difficult it is to catch these fish in the first place. And
Right.
I mean, you just got to put your time in. I mean, you could be out in the juiciest of juice weather conditions on any given day, and those fish just aren't moving. And all of a sudden, like a light switch will flip on. You don't know when it's going to be. And if you're not out there, you know, might as well just stay at home, sit on your couch and save the gas money, the money that you spend on lures, rods, whatever, accommodations, you name it.
You spend money on lures too?
Oh gosh, yeah. I've been doing pretty good though. I will say I only bought I think I bought 2 baits at the Musky Expo. One out of the 4 Musky Expos I went to this year. I prided myself in not walking around and shopping.
That's some serious self-control. All right, well, so you're talking about, you know, kind of the like what drew you to that area and everything, and I think that's kind of part of this guide name that we were talking about prior to hopping on here. It's like you're the Namekagon Area Guide Service. So you're saying that you guide in, what'd you say, like 6 counties, 6 different counties?
6 different counties around here. And, you know, I chose that name mainly because a lot of these lakes I'm fishing around are near that Namekagon River area that flows into the St. Croix eventually. I don't know. It's, you know, if you look at that Muskellunge Waters of Wisconsin booklet that the DNR has out.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the amount of water, like, let's just compare Vilas alone to like, you know, the 6 counties I'm talking about. Like, we don't even touch the amount of musky lakes that you guys have. If you're trying to put people on big fish and you're on, you know, a given lake that has the potential for big fish and it's not rolling, I got to drive a minimum of 45 minutes to an hour away to get to the next best body of water. And it makes it a lot more difficult. Yeah, it's not really cost effective on my part, but I mean, I'm in this to put people on muskies, obviously, but truly, just like all of us, we want to see the biggest, baddest animals out there. Not every ecosystem can support a big animal like that.
Right.
So you got to put some miles under the wheels and, you know, and just go find new water and pound it out. And a lot of it's been a lot of fun doing it too. You know, just trying all that new stuff. And when it comes together, it's like, hey, I got a guy coming in from Florida. In fact, tomorrow for 3.5 days, we're going to go live down on a couple bodies of water that are far away from me for a couple days and go pound those. And then we'll kind of stay more centralized as he gets closer to his departure.
Nice. Sweet. So with you talking about all this like new water and also saying that you ranged over 6 counties, and there might not be as many lakes or musky lakes as just Vilas County alone, are you still finding brand new bodies of water as of like this year that you're exploring?
Yeah, absolutely. I was out on a body of water just, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago. We boated 3, lost 3. Nothing huge, but it has the right water to grow a large animal. The stocking was there. Doesn't look like it gets hit too hard. Obviously, I'm not taking people out on bodies of water I haven't fished before, guiding wise, you know. But if I have a day off, I'm flying as far away from my known waters as possible, just so I can learn as much as I can as as an angler.
I mean, that's Gus. I think you can relate to that a little bit over the last 2 years. I mean, that's been pretty much our main mission, is to just learn as many different bodies of water as we possibly can, because I think the one really, really cool thing about Wisconsin, whether you're in your area or over by us, it's like whether you got to drive an extra 30 or 45 minutes, you know, you can go from fishing a super deep, clear system to a little mini reservoir, you know, tiny standalone green stain lake. And that, we've talked about it a lot. And I mean, I'd be curious to kind of hear your thoughts, but like on any given day, like whether you're taking out clients or you're going out by yourself, like how do you make that decision? Like, all right, today is going to be a deep, clear body of water day. Is it like a gut feeling? Is it weather dependent? Is it just what you've been doing lately?
To tell you the truth, a lot of it's just weather dependent. I'm chasing wind. I always want to be in wind. And this is like the most windless year I've ever experienced across northern Wisconsin. Which is why we have cold water. I know that we had some periods of time where people were telling us, you know, oh, you got to put the rods away. The lakes are at 79, this and that. And it's like, I know it reads that on the surface, but we've also had like 3 full days of flat calm weather. And then moving on, the next week, we're still around that high temperature range. I'm not telling people to go fish in hot water. If you just got to know what you're doing here. And we had one 3-day period where we just had insane south winds. And we haven't had any wind that was worth a damn for so long. And it was warm out too for those 3 days. They were all big south winds. And that water temperature immediately dropped down to 69 degrees.
Mhm.
So I think that's why, it's been a good year up here in general for catching fish, but bigger fish have been tough to come by because of the water being so cold. They're just not moving the way that they're supposed to. They are definitely, these northern Wisconsin creatures have the slowest metabolism out of any muskie that's out there. They don't need to eat.
Preach.
And if it's not
Right.
warm out, they don't have to eat. So why would they get off their butts and go chase baits, So, it's a lot of it just has to do with wind. I like to be around wind, and I will drive many miles to go find it if possible. So, and a lot of it's gut feeling too. I hit a lot of the water that I live around here within an hour, more times than not, I will say. And when that's ice cold, it's time to move. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm kind of looking at for that, as far as expanding out and trying different waters.
So on a given day, say you have a full day guide trip, if you go that first morning, or I guess half of the guide trip, and you're not seeing what you want to see, you're very okay with pulling up and going to a different lake. And if so, which I assume you are you going to choose something completely different in size or clarity?
No, not necessarily in size, possibly clarity. But I mean, if I'm on like a deep, clear body of water and it's cloudy outside, I'm going to feel comfortable out there.
Yeah.
No different than if I was out on a stained body of water. Clouds don't bother me by any means, but let's say I was on a stained body of water and it's sunny outside, bluebird skies. I probably won't go to those deep, clear bodies of water. That would, I would kind of stay away from that side. I'd probably find another, shallow, darker body of water to go fish on. But if I don't see stuff happening right off within 3-4 hours of that first half day, and I absolutely don't think it will get better based on the forecast of the later part of the day, yes, I will definitely move to go check something else out.
So I don't want to pivot too badly here, but you're talking about kind of the Wisconsin setups you had, and I saw, I don't know if it was a video or just kind of on your Instagram. Not saying that you're cheating on us Wisconsin people at all, but sounds like you kind of moved over to Minnesota for a little bit this year. You want to touch on that? Like what was kind of the driving factor behind that? Because it seemed, like a pretty cool change of pace for you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I mean, a lot of those lakes in Minnesota are only 4 hours away from me. So that was no different than living in Madison and driving up to Vilas County or anywhere in
Right.
northern Wisconsin.
Right.
I think anything that's, for a couple day trips at least, 4 hours is not far for me. Seeing as that I'll drive an hour and 45, 2.5 hours on a daily trip alone. I mean, we're talking like 5 hours round trip in the car. That adds up.
Yeah.
So, a lot of that had to do with it, again, being so cold. And those Minnesota fish, they act way differently. They obviously they grow faster. They have a faster metabolism, so they're going to make more mistakes. And with our water temps being as cold as they were around here, I needed to go find fish that needed to make some mistakes. And it was good. We didn't necessarily light it up by any means with giants, but we caught a handful of really nice fish over 45, and then a pile of like 40 to 44 inchers. But a lot of that had to do with like I had guys for 2 to 5 day periods, and I asked them, "Hey, do you have any interest in going to Minnesota?" And more times than not, they were like, "Yes." So I didn't spend a whole lot of time out there. I'd probably say a solid 2.5, 3 weeks, I would say, on and off. But and then again, if I had some free time off, I was going over there too if the weather looked better, and going out there and camping and just getting back to my roots. It felt pretty good.
Any like highlights specifically from those trips over to Minnesota? Like whether was it on a guide trip or you personally, hooked, lost a big one, caught it,
Gosh, that one lake, gosh, we saw so many big fish out there. And in fact, it was a lake I've never fished before. So I can't say that I don't guide on lakes that I don't fish before, like I said before, but these guys knew it. I told them, I was like, I've never been out on this lake before, but it looks like it has good big fish potential. And they're like, let's go. Like, I've never fished it. Are you okay with this? They're like,
Right.
absolutely. Let's go do it. We got our trust in you. And David Vanderway, like on his first 5 minutes, we launched the boat at like noon because we were out at, I don't know, we were out on the water till like 3:30 the previous morning. And we launched the boat at noon, flat calm, gin clear body of water. And I'm already thinking like, oh my gosh, why are we out here? This is going to be so bad. And he loses like a 45, 46 on a pounder, like immediately. And we were like, okay, I think we're doing all right here. And we ended up bagging a 48 3/4 that night. One of my clients did. And I don't know, we lost a couple, nothing huge, but boated a couple other ones. So it was kind of cool to see them trusting me in that sense, where I was flat out telling them, I'm going to be learning just as much as you are on this body of water.
That's pretty cool.
Did
Yeah,
you
it was
kind of
fun.
go into like how you take in, a brand new lake, especially the pressure clients, like how you tackle that then for the first time? Because are you scouting spots with them, or what was kind of your agenda?
During that time of the year, that was, oh boy, that was like early July, I believe we were up there. No, it was late June. So these fish were just starting to move back out of the basins. Granted, there was still plenty of fish out in the basins, I'm sure, but they were starting to relate more to those weeds as it was getting warmer over there. In fact, it was actually warmer over there, more to the northwest of where I'm at than it was here, far more southern. And yeah, it was just like, these fish are going to be in weeds. So we're going to go drive around on these mid-lake structures and go look for weeds. First hump I came on, I've never seen something so rockless and weedless. It was just like a pile of absolute nothing. I'm like, oh boy, there may not be weeds in this lake. And roll over to the next big hump. And like, we have like glorious cabbage that's in 5 feet of water all the way out to like 24 feet of water. And like, I'm just drooling and, and it's just like, now do we hit up shallow or are we working out deep? And I chose to stay out deeper for the first pass. And then if that didn't work, I was going to move up shallower on that same spot and do the same route, but, just try to tackle it a little bit differently. But those fish were chowing right on that deep weed edge, right where, David caught that nice one, or lost that nice one, I should say. But yeah, that's, and then from there I was like, all right, mid-lake structure, let's go find more weeds. And then again, there would be a couple more that I'd find with weeds on them, and then a couple more that just didn't have any weeds whatsoever. In fact, I don't think we fished a single shoreline that entire trip, just because the spots that we were finding out on those mid-lake structures were so big and took a long time for us to actually fish them effectively. And we were finding fish on every piece of it. So it was hard to leave it, to go try something different, but it paid off. And that's how I'm pretty much breaking down the lakes, is just looking at like, what should they be doing this time of year, given the certain, weather conditions, lake temperature and so on, what's a forage like, and then just kind of break it down from there. It's no different than how you guys show up to new water when you guys are doing your tournaments. I'm sure, it's, I've had a lot of people even say that to me when I first moved up here. And, I told them, yeah, I just moved up here, starting to, I'm a musky guide and this and that. And they're like, well, how do you know where the fish are? And it's like, well, we never really know where they are. We know where they should be. And then we just tackle it down from there. And, and a lot of times it pays off.
Yeah. I think finding like or similar structure to what you have success on is like it seems so obvious and like something everybody should do, but I feel like it's something that even we will get tripped up on sometimes, where it's like, if you're seeing them on mid-lake stuff, like there's going to be other mid-lake structures or whatever in that system that if you just keep trying to replicate those bites, I think that was probably a pretty big growing pain for us, was like really understanding that, where if they're moving on this mid-lake hump, you know, you can move 60 yards down on another mid-lake hump and probably have similar success. And yeah, no, tournament fishing for sure. We've tried to bring that to tournament fishing. It's just kind of replicating bites over and over again, because like you said, you never know that they're for sure going to be on it. So you just got to try to do your best educated guess and
Right.
keep.
I mean, anybody honestly that says that they have a certain lake pattern down where they have all these muskies patterned down, I don't know. I'm sorry. These things, they have fins no different than we have legs. If we're uncomfortable, we move. You know, if we're on the couch and we don't like being on the couch anymore, we want to go to our bed, we go to our bed. It's no different than these fish. They can move at any time throughout the day. And I mean, nothing's set in stone with them. And I think that's why we love these stupid things so much.
Yeah.
Very, very dumb fish.
Yeah.
Going off what you're just saying, Brian, you're probably gonna love this. What I'm about to say is that yesterday when I was out, this is kind of like going with the getting caught up and, you know, not finding the certain structure for a certain time of year to find like the muskies. Like I was getting caught up on a certain lake with clients and just kind of casting at the same weed edge that will typically find them, and it just wasn't seeing what I wanted to see. And I moved to this bay that pretty much had zero wind, and I noticed that the water temp like rose up. And Brian, this muskie yesterday came from a tree on shore that was just sticking into the water.
Go
it was
figure.
sitting up in like a foot or 2 feet of water. And I was trying like the deep weed edge or maybe like slightly shallower. And I'm like, oh, I don't know why I was getting caught up in that. It's middle September. Those fish should be like stupid shallow. And this was at like the end of the trip when I realized this. And I just felt like, well, duh, you know, I don't, it's, you know,
it always seems more obvious, like after it comes together, like you're like, oh yeah, no duh, that should have worked. Like, yeah, every time it feels like, I mean, we've talked about this, like you always feel like a genius after you catch a fish, you know, like you just feel so smart. Like, oh man, like,
every one of my like major trips were like, let's say like first time I went to Minnesota, like first 2 hours of being on a Minnesota body water ever, I caught a 53.5. And I was like, oh, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do all the same stuff that I did in Minnesota and replicate that on this water. And then you're like, it's totally different, you know, like you feel so good about yourself. And it's like, take a step back, Michael, you're not that smart still.
So we always like to talk about big fish stories. I think a lot of people like to hear about them. So you mentioned that 53.5. Is that your current PB of what you're working with right now, or have you tied in
by length it is. I got a much fatter one a couple years ago in late November fishing on the Great Lakes. But that one was like 52.5 by 26. It was just a large animal. It was huge. But yeah, that one out of Minnesota that I got on a flaptail, that was my longest by length, still to this day. I remember we were actually pre-fishing for the PMTT out in Cass Lake. And I looked at my tournament partner and I was like, dude, like, this is why I don't like tournaments, because I don't like being told when I can and can't fish or, you know, where I have to fish. I do like them, but like, it always just irks me because it's like, these fish are going to go. Now we have to leave. Like, that sucks because I like catching them.
Yeah.
And my partner, you know, I looked at him and I was like, we should go to a different lake. And he's like, why would we do that? And I was like, because we're going to get out on Cass Lake. It looks super, like, I mean, it's not easy to fish, but it's like, you're going to get it down quick. I was like, we're going to be on that same body of water for the next how many days? Let's go try somewhere else. And I remember this guy just gets his brand new, like, 620 Ranger. And we get to the ramp and his skeg, like, barely rubs on the bottom there. And right at the launch. And he's like, yeah, we got to be back in before sunset because I just don't want to nick my new boat up and this and that. And I'm just like in one ear and right out the other.
Yeah,
like,
sure,
I'm acknowledging him, but I'm totally ignoring him at the same time. So we're out there, you know, and we're fishing. And like I said, we were only out there for a couple hours and it was dark within an hour. We had just gotten up there. And he's like, yeah, we should get going. And I was like, 15 more minutes, you know, just 15 more. So like 45 minutes elapses and now it's getting really dark. And he's like, all right, Mike, we got to go. And I was like, 15 more minutes, you know? And like another like 15, 20 minutes goes by and I'm throwing this flap tail. I'm way out on the end of the cast. You hear the toilet flush and like all hell breaks loose. And I just remember after he netted it, I looked at him. I was like, we can go home now. And he's like, oh no, we're staying a little longer now. Like, yes, I love it.
I'll dent a 620 to catch another 53.5.
Yeah, right. No kidding. I was like, man, if we were going to worry about boats, we should have brought mine. I just run mine into things. So
that's what they're for, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not like I absolutely beat on my stuff, but I use it. You know, if you see a real shiny, pretty boat in somebody's garage, that means that he washes it more than he fishes out of it. I can tell you that. If you're fishing hard for muskies, you don't got time to clean your boat that well. I don't care who you are.
I agree.
So going off that big fish story, are you a big sucker guy? Are you using any today? And then
no. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what's your biggest fish on a sucker if you do use them every fall?
Sure. Oh yeah, it's a Wisconsin tradition, you know. There's still a few people that don't like the whole sucker thing, saying it's cheating, but again, we have fish up here that have slow metabolisms. They live to an incredibly long age. And with that, you get smart, you know, you get choosy, if you will. So suckers are an absolute necessity in my boat. Come around this time normally, but with this heat, I'm not going to bother with them. But yeah, you have to have them. I mean, plain and simple. We'll raise fish left and right, cast some baits, and they'll gravitate right towards that sucker. And even then, a lot of times too, we'll watch these things chase suckers and not eat them. I'm running live scope on my boat now for the past 3 years. Not necessarily sharpshooting them by any means. Use it more for structure more than anything, because I can really break down spots and illustrate it better for customers. You know, like if any given time the wind blows me in 15 feet closer than what I want to be, I can say, hey, those weeds are up to the surface 50 feet away. If you land your cast 40 feet away, you're going to be right on the edge, and then you can start working that bait down that edge, you know. So it's a good tool for that, but not to get too sidetracked. But when I'm flashing this sonar or this live scope on these suckers all fall, it is absolutely amazing how many spots I'll hit throughout a day. And you'll watch these muskies come up, look at them, go down, come up, go down, and then all of a sudden they're down. And
it's crazy.
I mean, it's happened an unbelievable amount of times. Sorry, I'm getting a stupid phone.
Oh,
he'll come back.
Wrong button.
I think you got the wrong button. Sorry, folks. You'll get Michael back in, I don't know, a minute or two.
T-minus 1 second.
3, 2, 1.
All right.
All
you
good.
guys got me?
Yeah, we got you.
Sorry about that. I pressed the wrong button, and I had a guy talking to me, and I had to get him off the phone.
All good.
That's all right.
But I forgot where I left off there. Can you help me out?
Live scope and suckers and how freaking frustrating it is.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean, we'd see sometimes 12 to 18 fish a day, and it was, you know, and some days we just didn't get bit on them. And if you can't fool them on a sucker, I mean, good luck, you know. They're just not chowing that day.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy that it's like I agree 100% that the live scope stuff with the suckers, like it. If anything, you know, we've touched on this in prior podcasts, but it's like it has helped us, even if we're not getting the feedback of like hooking fish on suckers with the live scope and like watch them shoot up and eat it or whatever. Like, it is nice to know, especially if there's certain spots where, like, if you have there's multiple muskies coming up to your sucker, it helps you kind of like hone in, you know, if you have a 2 or 3 day time period to catch them, it's like, okay, they're here. And that's helped us out on new bodies of water where we're like feeling lost, where we've touched on this fish before, but it's like, if we didn't have live scope on this one particular lake, there was a spot that probably had 15 large muskies on it.
Yeah.
And we would have never known. We would have literally had no clue if we didn't have live scope. And we ended up doing the same pass for 3 straight days because
No,
we just
absolutely.
knew that one of them eventually, like you said, was going to make a mistake. But if we didn't have live scope, we probably would have been running all over that lake looking for fish.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that just further proves that live scope isn't the end all be all deal.
No. Yeah.
It's
No, it's
no,
not.
it's another great tool that we have. I mean, I've seen more people cast at side imaging muskies that hate live scope, and it's just like, I don't see the difference because I've caught plenty of fish that 3 different lures went over a muskie's head already. And if you didn't get that flipping bait right on their noodle, once that thing gets marked in the back end of the boat, you're not going to catch it. And with side imaging, obviously you don't know where it is. I mean, you can get an idea, but the boat's always moving, the fish could be moving. That's why it's always important, like, back when I was really, or I mean, still to this day, I mean, I can't say back. When you see one on side imaging, it's like you get somebody to cast 30 feet in a certain direction right now because that fish is moving or we're moving. And it could make the difference between catching one and not catching one. And nobody throws a stink about the whole side imaging thing. So I find it quite funny.
I mean, we did like a little pre-spawn trip up to the UP this April, and we had 1 bite, caught 1 fish in 2.5 days of fishing, and it was solely because of side imaging.
Yeah.
Fish showed up on the other side of the boat. We were casting off, one side at the break, and this big ass mark on side imaging shows up about as if you could draw a muskie on side imaging. That's what this fish looked like.
Yeah.
And instantly Brian and I both casted right at it. Brian, I mean, I wouldn't say he casted right at it. He missed it by about a football field, but
oh Jesus.
Missed it by 3 feet, which
no, looking
cold
back,
weather, that made sense.
Cast 30 feet this way. Okay.
Yeah.
The complete opposite side of the boat. Just like,
it was hilarious.
I've seen it all too. It's like, no, look where my finger is. Right there.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'll stop asking so many questions, but I do want to ask this one more, and it is kind of a pivot too. But you talked about like a big Great Lakes fish. You were talking about these Minnesota muskies. Outside of like the North Woods of Wisconsin, what is like some of your favorite bodies of water to fish, or do you have like one particular trip that you really like to do or have really enjoyed in the past?
I make trips like a day in advance typically. Like 2 years ago when we did that here or when we were when was that? Yeah, 2 years ago when we were fishing out, I was with my good buddy Will, and the lakes just froze up around here, and he's like, hey, do you want to go here? And I was like, yeah, let's go do it. So I mean, with guiding now, I really don't plan anything too far in advance unless if it's an actual guide trip. But that's kind of the nice thing about being a full-time guide is that you can have that leniency to do such things when your waters are freezing up or something changes. But I do, as far as going on a trip, I love going down to Tennessee every year with my buddy Willen. And that is some fun fishing down there. He knows those waters so well. I've never been down there and not caught a fish that was at least 46 to 48 inches.
Wow.
And for me, when you're catching those in December through March, it's like, whoa, this is fun. Like, yeah, I can go back up in northern Wisconsin, go sit on my couch and watch the snow melt, or I can go musky fishing. So that's definitely the time period that I really enjoy the most. As far as like going out on a destination trip.
Yeah, we need to start mixing those in, boys, because all I know is from November to April is just not cutting it for me anymore. It starts to get sad in like February, right? January when we're watching
January and February.
I mean, it's just we're sending each other freaking like baits, being like, dude, we got to try this at this lake. Right. And, oh my god, like. It's sad. It's depressing.
Oh, I know how it goes. It's sad, but it's not sad. You're still thinking about it, and that's what's cool about it. These stupid things are always on your mind, and the more you think about them, the better off I think you are as a human being, personally. So,
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I couldn't agree.
None of my ex-girlfriends would agree with me on that subject, but
most wouldn't. So going off of kind of your destination trips, have you done a lot of fishing or any fishing in Canada?
Oh boy, the last time I was in Canada was 2012 on Lake of the Woods. Fun trip. Went with the wrong guy. But overall it was okay. we we started off up there. We stayed at Bill Sandy's. Immediately we show up to Sandy's and he's like, "You got a paper map?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Bring it over to my place at 5 o'clock tonight. I'll mark it up for you." And we're like, "Holy smokes. Like, how cool is that?"
That's awesome.
And this guy like just drew all over this map, like just tons and tons of spots. And we're like getting pretty excited. The guy who I go out with, like first spot, it's always the boats running into stuff that makes people freak out, but not me. His like trolling motor barely touches a rock. Okay. And like he just starts throwing this canary of a fit. I'm like, good grief, man. Like, whatever, you know? So the next 3 days we fish out over open water in September. Okay. We're up there in September fishing open water. We didn't see a damn thing for 3 days, minus the walleyes that we would catch for lunch. And ran back into Sandy, and Sandy's like, "I told you guys, you got to fish 12 feet of water with rocks that are wind blown." Like, you know, and you kind of see the fire start lighting up in that other guy's body. And we go to a rock spot that's just getting pounded by wind. His first cast, he lands like a 46, 47. And then we go to the next island that's getting pounded by wind, and he catches another one. And like 7 fish later, I'm in the back of the boat. He's in the front. And he's like, "Man, they really love this bucktail up here." I was like, "They don't love that bucktail. They love anything that gets in front of their face on the first spot." You know, and he's just like not sold on it. Catches another one. And I was like, "Hey, I'm not going to name any names, but I was like, let me take the front of the boat for the next spot." And you could see him hemming and hawing. I was like, "Oh, I'm out with the wrong guy out here." But he gives in. And I pointed at my box. I was like, "What bucktail should I throw?" And he just like points out like this old all gold supermodel. And I was like, "Okay." First cast, caught a 45. You know? And then you could just sort of hear him like, "Yeah, I guess you're right." But it didn't stop him from going into the front of that damn boat for the rest of the time.
Oh my God.
You know?
Yeah. Sounds like you need a little redemption.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't, you know, it sucked at the time, but it's not like I lose sleep over it. It's just like, yeah, at least I learned something from all that.
Put a beat down on him.
What's that?
Still sounds like you put a beat down on him. How many total fish
we
was
did
that?
for our last 3 days. We just pounded them, and it was amazing. It was just like, man, we wasted so much time up here. Not wasted, because I guess you're still in Canada. It's really pretty up there. I'm a huge fan of fishing around things that are, you know, pretty, if you will. If you stuck me out on Green Bay, no offense to the Green Bay guides, I think that's one of the ugliest fisheries you could possibly look at, you know, for every day of your life. But granted, you're fishing for 55 plus inch animals, so I totally get it. Get it. I didn't move up to northern Wisconsin to catch 55 inchers. I moved up here for the beauty of it, and you know, the history of you know, world record.
Yeah.
In quotes.
Good grief. I tell you what, if that world record wasn't up here, I wouldn't be as busy as I am. So let that world record live on, baby.
Absolutely.
It's gotta help.
Oh, it does. It's amazing how it helps, but
more
with the newer anglers, that is. But
there's nothing. I mean, we're biased, but yeah, man, there's just nothing of like northern Wisconsin. You can't really beat it. I mean, I'm sure we haven't been to Canada. I'm sure it's amazing, but yeah, we love the northern Wisconsin area. I mean, we were up in Vermilion a few weeks ago, and that was really cool.
That's a good taste. That's a good taste of what Canada looks like, without a doubt. And you guys stuck a nice one too. Way to go, boys.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a nerve-wracking 17 seconds.
Oh yeah, I could imagine. Like, nothing hurts more than having a muskie pinned in a tournament. I mean, you think you never get that nervous again. You know?
Yeah, it's crazy how much a 33 incher can make you shake in a tournament.
Oh, it's unreal. It's like, oh man, we might be in the money now. This is great.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's dumb. How many tournaments have you done?
I did the PMTT, the full length. Oh gosh, when was that? I want to say it was like 2016, 2017. Whenever it was like Cave Run, Eagle River, Cass Lake, and I think the championship was on Miltona that year.
Okay.
And then I did a handful, or I did a couple other just qualifiers. Like I always enjoy doing the Eagle River chain PMTT because I felt like that was like the one tournament that anybody in the field could win, you know, if you stumble
For
into
sure.
something good. I mean, honestly, those musky tournaments, I mean, you have a better chance of winning money in one of those than you do in any scratch off lottery ticket. You know, it's you put together the right pattern, you catch 2 fish, you might be taking home some money, you know, or even just
Yeah.
1 fish, you know, it depends on the tournament. But there's a few small ones I do up around this area. I typically fish it with my youngest sister, Heidi. And that's always fun. It's typically, you know, like a 20 boat tournament, $1,500 purse, nothing crazy, but use
Nice.
it as a good excuse to get out and have a good time. And you can use suckers in that too, so it's really, really fun.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and Heidi, I remember the first time we ever fished that, she caught a 47.5 that won the tournament. And there was one of the guys that was in the tournament, and he caught a 45-incher. And he actually went to the bar like immediately after he caught this thing at like 11 o'clock and just got just toasted. And you know, it's like, yeah, we have this in the bag. Like this tournament, usually a 38-incher wins it, and this and that. And of course, like Heidi and I, we catch that one. We still have 2 hours to go, and we're like, we're gonna keep going. And then I catch a 44, and I dropped her off at the pier where the bar was for this tournament, and we still had just 2 minutes before she had to be up there. I mean, that's where we're, you know, we're in it to catch muskies, and if we
Yeah.
won money, we did. But gosh, it was such a fun day. Miserably cold. Oh my gosh. Horrible condition.
That's good shit. That's really good shit.
Yeah, it's fun. I like fishing with that young lady. She's a tough cookie. So
Yeah. We've seen her on some of the Today's Angler videos. I know, Brian, you wanted to get into some of that stuff.
Yeah, we've been watching them for years. Gus and I were just watching a video. You were in it from this last weekend. We were watching up north. But how did you kind of meet those guys, and how did that relationship start?
yeah, that's so my sister went to the same high school that I did, Madison Memorial, up through her sophomore year. And no, I'm not going to beat around the bush. It was when I was going to school there, it was getting bad. And 10 years later, when my youngest sister was in there, it was only worse. So she ended up school choicing to another school. And that's where she actually went to high school with Robbie. And I kept hearing about this Robbie character, you know, like, oh, you got to meet this Robbie guy. You got to meet this Robbie guy. He got a 50-pounder out of Mille Lacs with Lee Talcott. And I remember like looking at like my sister, and I was just like, Heidi, if anybody caught a 50-pounder from around this area, you know, like granted it was in Minnesota where it was caught, but like if an area guy caught this, like we would know about it. Well, they were keeping it secret, you know, for the longest time before this Today's Angler thing came out. So I thought they were all, you know, just lying.
Bullshit.
You know? But yeah, and all of a sudden, like my sister was out with her boyfriend, and then Robbie joined them for dinner or lunch somewhere, and they invited me over there. Got to meet Robbie. I went fishing with him once. We had a good time. And this is like leading right into the fall, where I was just like on this most incredible like Wisconsin river bite I've ever been a part of. And like I didn't even talk to that kid for like a full maybe 3-4 months. I was like, I didn't trust anybody. I was the only guy in my boat. I wouldn't take anybody there, guiding, friends, you name it. It was my deal. Like I didn't trust anybody. So when I got back in touch with Robbie like the next spring, he's like, dude, what happened? I thought you died. Like, I'm mad at you. Like, I'm sorry. I told him the situation. He's like, I get it, but let's go fishing. So and then we just started fishing more and more. I think where we really solidified our friendship was that same spring. I talked to him about Green Bay, and I was like, hey, I've never fished the Fox River before. Let's go do it. And I know that he has. And I remember being on the phone with him for a solid 2.5 hours. At night, like the night beforehand, like trying to convince this kid, like, we need to go up there. He's like, oh, I got all this stuff to do. I got to edit. And you can hear him clicking, click, 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 like he's editing at the time. And I wouldn't let it go. And finally, like at 1 o'clock in the morning, he's like, all right, I'll meet you at this quick trip at 3 in the morning. You know, we're like, all right, cool. And that was the day that Robbie caught a 52.5 and a 53.5 in the same day.
Jesus.
God.
Absolute awesome day. Hardly anybody was out. Like I said, it was my first time ever fishing it. I was running the boat. And I mean, if you've ever fished it, it's nothing hard. You know, you just, you fish weeds and you fish shorelines. But I think that's when we like looked at each other and we were like, I think we're gonna be best friends now. You know?
I mean,
he's such a good kid. I mean, I don't think we've ever argued once. I don't think I could be mad at him. He's just an all around great, positive kid. And like, that's what I wanted to be around. And I remember when he started getting the hots for my sister and like how he was like trying to ask me if he could like date her. It was like the most awkward, funny thing I've ever heard in my life. I felt like a middle schooler was like trying to talk to me. He's like, what do you think? Maybe if I maybe me and your sister maybe. And I was like, God, just spit it out, dude. Just spit it out.
That's awesome.
So, and then here we are. They're obviously married. They live up here now too, which is really cool. So it's kind of nice that, when I first initially moved up here, I was up here for a year by myself. And I actually did that on purpose. I wanted to come up here and learn how to be by myself. I think that's an important thing, especially growing up in Madison. You always had friends to do stuff with. There was always an activity, an event to do. So I knew moving up here, I needed to learn how to be by myself. So I didn't end up sitting in the bar, getting drunk like everybody else does up here. Not everybody, but a good amount. So it was kind of cool. After that year goes by, they move up and then we just start pounding water and putting our heads together and find new stuff. It's been great.
I mean, yeah, you guys have a good dynamic in the boat. Like, we've been watching the Today's Angler videos forever. They're awesome. I mean, was that like kind of a weird, I mean, not weird is probably the wrong word, but like just interesting, like you're filming and fishing and like, okay, this is going to go out on the internet and thousands of people are going to watch this. And does that like change how you act in the boat? Cause like, I know like we've started running cameras over the past few years and like we joke around about like musky blackout, like after you catch a big fish or see a big fish, like you just, anything you say or do, like you really can't hold it against you because you might scream like a girl, you might say something super stupid.
Oh yeah.
But like, did that change at all? Like how you fish or what you did in the boat, like when you're running these cameras, knowing that it's going to be broadcasted on YouTube?
Not really. I think I got even more vulgar when those damn cameras started coming up in the boat, to be honest with you. I don't know. Robbie's got some good editing skills, obviously. I mean, there was just a video a couple of days ago that was dropped where he was falling in and out of the boat trying to net a 49 incher for me. And I told him to chill the F out, and I didn't say it in a mean way. I was like, dude, this kid's going to freaking have a heart attack and fall in the water. I think I just watched that incher in the water next to my brother-in-law. Like, that's not going to be good either. But, yeah, no, nothing really changed. Keeping things quiet has always been, Robbie's always been so good about that, not naming lakes, not releasing things. If we're on a killer bite on a certain body of water, not releasing it for, sometimes, a couple weeks. And, I mean, shoot, there was a video that was released 2 years ago that he kept quiet for about 4 years. And, it was just such a cool musky spot and nobody was hardly fishing it. I knew that Keys shot a show out there and I was like, hey, he's going to drop this video. Now's the time, because, I'm not ripping on Keys by any means because, but like if there's a video of it out there, might as well do another one, now's the time. And we're doing that mainly to protect it from blowing up that area because there were a few locals fishing that stuff and don't want to piss them off either. So, just mind your P's and Q's. I know a lot of people don't like the filming, but I know, we never mention lake names. We never show boat launches. We just try to keep it as generic as possible. And I get messages like that all the time where they're like, "Why don't you tell us what body of water you're on?" And it's like,
And where
you're in
you
the wrong
use it and where the
sport
fish
here.
are.
Go figure it out
You're in the
yourself.
wrong game here. Like, this is cutthroat stuff. We keep this stuff quiet. We work our tails off, driving at $4 a gallon now to go find these stupid things. Like, this is what makes it fun, is the chase, you know? And like, if you don't have those failures of driving to a new body of water and sucking it up, you know, you're doing it wrong. Like, you're going to have some heartbreaks, and it's just going to make those good times feel way better when it does happen.
Preach, 100%. Man, I personally think the filming and stuff like that is awesome because, like, I know, you know, keeping bites close to your chest is important, but like musky fishing is really cool. And I think when you catch the bug, it's fun to like show other people and like hope that they try to understand it, because like we've joked about this, but it's like if you're chasing a fish for 10, 12, 14-hour days to catch like one fish, most people think you're legitimately, you know, clinically insane to do something like that, right?
My mother still doesn't understand it, guys. I don't know how, but it just blows my mind how my mother just does not understand it.
But like showing it and being able to like be, you know, real on camera and showing the highs and lows of it all, like that, to me, that's awesome. Like, I think it's fun and it gets more people involved in the sport. I think it's just good for everybody. I mean, I know there's a finite amount of water, but
Sure.
it's gonna always be changing. You know, certain lakes are gonna be hot some years, certain bites are gonna die. Like, sure, you know, film it, whatever. It is what it is. I mean, you hear old guides talk about certain lakes. Yeah, this lake was great, and now it's not. And now this lake's great. It used to suck. You know, it's gonna always be a puzzle. Like, no matter how much filming and stuff you put out there, like it's always gonna be hard. You know, like,
it just comes down to pressure in general. And, you know, if people complain about there being too much pressure, those are the same people that are guiding people and teaching people how to musky fish. You know, like, it's a double-edged sword here. You know, you're going to give up a lot of information doing this stuff, but at the same time, you know, it's cool to document it. It's cool to look back on all of it, to be honest with you. It's fun, you know. And another thing too, I mean, you know how ruthless this muskie industry can be. You can be labeled an absolute asshole for no reason, you know, never have a conversation with somebody. So it's kind of nice to have, like, do stuff like this now, or just doing the whole YouTube thing, because that's who we are. Like, we're not putting on anything fake, like behind the scenes where I'm just some total jackass, you know. Like, this is who we are. You know, if you got some, you know, jabroni that's, you know, ripping on you for being some sort of an a-hole who doesn't even know who you are, they can watch all the videos they want, and then they can come meet me in person. I'll just kill them with kindness, because there's no different Michael than what you're seeing right now, you know.
I think that's honestly like a lot of the negative stuff on you know, musky fishing online. We've talked about this. I just think it's the product of the internet. I don't think it matters what you do. Like, if you're putting yourself out there, like we've joked, you know, we've been fortunate, but we're really early on in all this where we haven't had too much hate, but I'm sure it's coming. And it's just a product of having your voice out there and giving the people the ability to comment or whatever behind a username that doesn't, you know, like they don't use it for anything else. You'll never be able to track who they are.
For sure.
I just think it's a product of that. I mean, people are weird.
Absolutely. I mean, it's no different than, you know, talking politics online. Like, oh my gosh. If I could, like, have a discussion with everybody that discusses politics online and just be like, why do you waste your time? Like, you're not doing anything. You can have a mouth-to-mouth conversation with somebody about politics and not change their mind. What makes you think that you're gonna do this online? Go live your life, go have fun doing it. And honestly, I think the more targets you have on your back, the better, you know, especially if you're a nice person. So you know, and just kill these people with kindness and just catch more muskies, work harder, prove it.
Right. And I agree. Like, I think if you're working hard, you're always going to be ahead of that next bite. So I think, like, putting it out on the online, like I said, it's kind of a moot point, because it's like, if you're the one that's actually going out doing the exploration and stuff like that, every year in and year out, you're always going to be ahead of the curve. So it's like, it's never, you know, I don't think if you're working hard, you're never going to really truly be behind the ball.
Absolutely.
But I do think it's funny. People, I do see the comments on your today's angler thing, like, nice fish, comma, what lake? It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's just so funny. It's like,
Like,
yeah, it was this lake, this spot, this time of day, this time of year. Go get them, buddy. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Golly. Yeah. And if you weren't in 4.7 feet of water, you were
Yeah.
screwed.
Right. Like, I think people underestimate the fact that that fish, may or may not have taken multiple hours or days to catch. It's just, that's
Oh,
just
yeah.
how it is. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're getting to bed about an hour-ish. Gus, Brian, what else you guys got? I got a few more things, but just want to make sure you guys are getting everything in that you want.
Are we holding you out of a major moon phase or anything?
I don't, people are going to hate me for this, but I just fish whenever I can. It just so happens that we did catch a fish on moon today. I texted it to a young lady and she was like, oh, right on moon. And I was like, oh, go figure. Finally caught one on moon. That's how often I pay attention to moon. I've been out on so many moon deals on like the best spots you could possibly think of and nothing happens. And you wake up the next morning, it's noon, flat, calm, sunny, not a major minor in sight, and you bag a 49 incher. It's like, just go, be on your best spots at all times. Always explore something new every day, but yeah, no, I'm not, you're not holding me up by any means.
Are you night fishing tonight? I know you're big into the night fishing game.
I am, and honestly, I don't fish too late into the night. Sometimes I do, if they're really rolling, but I always found that if I find some active fish sometime throughout the day, especially more towards the evening time, and I can't get them to go, like if I'm getting them, I call them ghost follows, where like you'll do your L turn in front of your side imaging, and then one shows up there and you don't see them, or you can't get them to show themselves by any means. I found that a lot of times that if I go back on those fish, like right when it's like 100% dark out, like 90% of the time you can get one of those things to go. And I'm typically only out for maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 after it's completely dark. So, I mean, talk about, probably around 10:30 tonight is when I'll get off the water. But, and, we have other bite windows too. It seems like it's like that first major dark period, 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. And I'm not staying out from 10:30 to 1 o'clock to maybe catch another muskie. That's too much time in between. Not saying that you can't catch one in between those times, because we have, but you can almost always catch one at 1 o'clock or have an opportunity to catch one at 1, and then same thing at 4 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, I tend to like lay my days out. I really want to hit like the middle of the day. At 10 to 2 is probably like my most important time to be out on the water. And then again at that evening all the way into that dark period, that's always good. I never get out on the water really before, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I've done it too many times, and all it does is make my clients more tired, for the end of the day. So we just we can catch them that early in the morning, but it's not worth it. The fatigue, if you will, for not just myself, but for the clients. I want them to be in tip-top shape throughout the day, leading into those big bite windows.
Do you continue to fish a few hours into the night, even like post turnover?
Post turnover, no, I get a little bit lazy. I mean, I do, but I should do it more. I don't know. It gets cold. And
Yeah, it does.
it's kind of nice when that sun goes down at like 5:30 in November, and you're like, oh, sweet. I get to like go to bed at 8 o'clock. Like, this is going to be so cool.
Actually have dinner with like friends and family for change.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just like smashing like my 20,000th salami sandwich of the year, and out there freezing my tail off.
Dude, we did a trip to Hayward, us three, and I think we abused that quick trip so badly in downtown Hayward. Like, I don't think there was a damn thing to eat in that place after we went through there.
It was the old quick trip. They tore it down because of us, I think.
Yeah, they had to build a brand new one for you boys, huh?
They could afford it after that weekend. We dropped freaking $500 on quick trip meals that weekend.
Oh,
ridiculous.
That's great. But yeah, I mean, I should do that more, but we were out until December 7th last year in Hayward, so we were by far the last boat out on the water around up here, and when you're fishing that late, I mean, it was cold a lot of days, and it's just like when that sun goes down, I'm gonna go warm up because I'm gonna just do this all over again tomorrow. So
Yeah, those are long
Mhm.
days. Those are tough.
absolutely, yeah, it adds up, and especially in a tiller boat, it gets a little chilly.
Yeah, I can agree there. That's what I rock as well.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. Yeah, 185
yes, yep.
competitor, nice, sweet rig, cool,
Yeah.
awesome,
Do
awesome.
you
Love
have
it.
that or do you have the 205?
I got a 205 now. I was running a 175 for 6 years until I accidentally totaled it last year in October.
Ooh.
Driving
Oh.
back from the gas station to get fuel before a guide trip. So that was my one guide trip I had to cancel last year. Unfortunately, I felt really bad for my boy, but I told him I sent him some pictures. I was like, I can't go today, and he goes, "Oh shit, yeah, you can't go today."
Was it
No.
was it a
We're really
deer?
good. What's that?
Was it a deer?
No, I just hit like it was crazy. Like I drove to town that morning. The roads were a little wet, but above freezing, everything was fine. And by the time I came back, that temperature dropped to about like 10, 15 degrees and it was blowing. And I wasn't thinking, obviously, I was thinking about getting to the launch and going musky fishing because like the conditions looked really good. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, like I was going sideways down the highway for several hundred yards and
Jeez.
just kind of looked at my like there was nothing I could do at that point. I just like looked at my hands. I remember just like sliding sideways. I was like, I don't even know what to do right now. Like I just don't even know. And finally, like I came to rest into a ditch and like I looked at
Ah,
myself. I was like, sweet, I'm okay. This is good.
that's sketchy.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it really
Jeez.
sucked, but you just got to take your time. And obviously, I wasn't taking my time. I'm not like a speed demon by any means, but I should have been looking at the road conditions a little bit better. But it sucked. I finished out last year out of a Lund fishing ski that a guy on the lake was kind enough to let me use, and that was kind of nice to have a windshield during the cold periods last year. But the whole fishing ski deal, it's definitely more ski than it is fish. So happy to be back and do a
Man.
tiller for this fall.
Yeah, tillers are awesome. We love them. I mean, it's been good to us. I don't know if we'll ever change, honestly. It's just the ideal musky setup.
Absolutely. I mean, if I absolutely had to change, like there might be a time where, I get older and I want to be a little bit more comfortable. I'll get a side console and still kind of screw over my clients for having no wind protection. But we're not out here to be comfortable. We're out here to be uncomfortable and,
Yep.
catch 'em.
Right.
Well, so before we let you go here, this has been a lot of fun, and I think we'll have to have you on again. Hopefully, you grace us with a few more minutes next time. And but I do want to ask because, like, we try to every once in a while be a little educational on this thing. And if you had like a certain bait this year that's been stellar for you, you don't really have to say, specifically if you don't want, or
Sure. Yeah, no.
any champs this season for you and your boat.
I would say overall, like my success overall on big rubber has been crucial up in northern Wisconsin. I think a lot less people were throwing them. This year was a little bit tougher of a bite on them. I think these fish are becoming more and more, choosy on them because we fooled so many of them that didn't see big rubber for so long. But just working them as erratic as you can. And I'm doing really short pulls, lots of snapping with a lot of slack in the line. And what that slack does, like let's say like I'll leave like half of a reel length of slack in my line as I'm working that Medusa or Bulldog. That allows that rod when you're pulling it, you'll wind up really fast with slack. And then by the time that rod loads up, that's when you feel that. And by the time you actually feel that rod load up, you stop and the rod's pretty much flicking this bait for you and
Yeah.
doing all the work. So what looks absolutely painful on camera, if you get that cadence down, it is such a number one, it's a deadly thing to use, to be thrown because you're not seeing big baits move like that. But it's really not that fatiguing. Honestly, if you gave me a husky or a monster Medusa and told me to keep it, no slack in the line and just pull it, I would die like immediately. Like it's far more stress on the body. So between that and boy, I will say this too, and I learned this from clients, and I thank them so much. A lot of my lakes around here during the day, I'm throwing number 8s, maybe number 9s, but most of the times it's 8s or smaller, and those blades are barely turning. I mean, just crawling. Why they're eating it, I don't know. Why they're attracted to it, I don't know. It must be giving out some sort of a different noise and a different presentation overall than what they're used to seeing, because now we have all these high-speed reels. People are burning them, and don't get me wrong, there's a time and place to burn blades, but I've seen so many big fish caught on bucktails over the past 4 years where you're looking at that guy's blades and you're like, oh God, he's not going to catch one today. I've told him 20 times to increase his speed and he's gotten slower. Like, we are screwed so badly. And then a 4-footer comes out of nowhere and crushes him 10 feet away from the boat. And it's like, all right, everybody slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down and, downsize too. So, yeah, I mean, as far as tips go, that's been like my kind of go-to up here is, ripping big rubber and slowing small blades down during the day. And then as it proceeds into the night, I'm throwing the biggest, baddest blades I can find so I can throw them slower over the weeds, and, the thinner blades, the better. So like, I'm talking like anywhere from like a Mayhem Cowgirl on up to like a show, Supermodel, Musky Frenzy. They're 12s. They're awesome. And they just fan out so much more. So I can actually slow that bait way down at night. And it is putting a totally different frequency through that water. A frequency that these fish can hear and feel way easier, and locate, I should say, with it being low light conditions.
Yeah, that was definitely something we found deadly. Gus, you go ahead.
Yeah, I actually have like a couple of questions on like each of the tips that you had. So with the big Medusas or just any big rubber, when you're talking about that technique that you're doing, are you going to the side or up or both? Like with
most of the times it's up because I'm working over weeds. Usually I'm always throwing those in shallow water. So I need to do a lot of up rips to keep that bait high out of the water. And then with the power of side imaging and or now live scope, I know exactly how far away, not necessarily where my lure is. Let's say because most of the time I'm watching my clients' lures. So I can pre-warn them that they have something going on because a lot of times they'll fall asleep on me or they can.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I know exactly what 30 feet is. I know what 40 feet, 50 feet, 60 feet. Everybody should know that all the way out to 120 feet. A normal cast, if you were to ask me, is going to be about around 100 feet. If you're good at casting and you don't overcast it, you're going to land 100 feet more times than not on any given cast. So that way, like when I'm reeling these baits and I know like 40 feet away, I can really drive, I can start side swiping this bait now and actually pause it a little bit more so I can attain a little bit more depth, but I'm still snapping it, giving it that erratic look. I mean, how many walleyes get eaten off from walleye guys? I got bit off by 3 muskies today fishing walleyes, or the bluegill guys, or the crappie guys. All those fish that are getting attacked look exactly the way my Medusa looks. Erratic, crazy. It's nothing's ever moving, slow and pausing. It's just boom, 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 boom. Get that thing to dance and, don't give them a second to think about it, sort of thing.
Right. That's a
insanely
you're either
going to eat this thing or you're going to sit down there and wish you did.
Yeah. That is such a deadly tactic and is definitely something that we do. And we like to do with the rubber, especially bending it. I know you probably bend it a little bit with the nose to get it to dive a little, or not dive, but help it
kind of
almost dart. Hop.
Yeah, yeah. You're talking like bending it like right here.
Yep.
Sort of thing.
Yep. Towards the head of a Medusa or bulldog or something.
Absolutely. Yeah, I almost do that to all of mine, unless if it's late in the fall and I'm doing more longer sweeps where you have to slow it down. But yeah, during the summer, they all have that bend right away to them, making sure that they're straight. Not all rubber baits are going to be the same out of the package. You got to look at them, right away before you even buy them. Make sure that the harnesses are in line here. And from there, if you have one that's rolling on its side a little bit, that drives me nuts. I mean, from time to time it will roll on its side, but you want that thing to be hopping, staying on that belly and darting from left to right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
This is
then
actually, I am actually happy I grabbed this one. This was a cool little modification I did out in Minnesota, and it's been working.
That's sick.
So
It's
that's
sick.
very
That is
cool.
pretty sweet. I like that
Yeah,
colorway on
actually-
that thing too.
what's that?
I like the colors on that thing. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, this is my Northwoods 9 color. They did a little limited run of them this year, and what was actually really cool is, you know how I told you guys, like, look at your rubber baits before you buy them. This isn't a Chaos thing. This isn't a Lake X thing. This isn't a Musky Innovations things. These things, when they pour them, sometimes they're a little off. And one time I got a Medusa from town here at a bait shop. It was the only monster Medusa that they had in stock. It was all white. And that thing, like this right here, was so far to the right hand side of the bait where like there was nothing you could do. It just wanted to cartwheel on you. So I was looking at that thing one day, and like I was throwing a lot of all black Medusas at the time, and I was like, I should chop the 2 white tails off of that monster and glue them to that all black one, so that way I can actually see the bait as it comes in. Because if you're in this dark bodies of water, a black bait is really hard to see as it's coming into the boat.
Yeah.
So I did that more for myself, and ultimately it's the ultimate in contrast. You know, I'm a big black fan. All my baits that I pretty much throw are mainly black, and I remember my first day of using the Northwood 9 that I made. I caught 3 of them on it while I was guiding, and I gave it to one of the guys who, like, I was shocked he could even throw a monster Medusa, and he caught one. I was like, holy smokes, this is pretty cool.
Wow.
It was really wild. He didn't really throw it all that great. It looked pretty ugly, but he got it done.
Sweet.
There's also a question I have about the slow rolling small bucktails, which when we're talking about that compared to the rubber, it's like, why would they eat that? And what I want to know is that, do you use some of those it's like the lead lures Boilermaker to slow it down specifically, or are you slowing down a normal like
Yes.
single 8?
Yeah, you know, the Lee Lures Boilermaker, I have clients throw that a lot because it's a lot easier to slow it down and still keep it out of the weeds. Me personally, you know, I'm always going to give my clients the bait that they should be throwing over what I, you know, want to throw. But let's say it's an all blade bite, and you know, I had a couple guys in the front of the boat catch 2 fish on blades. Well, at that point, if I'm not seeing anything throwing a monster Medusa, I'm going to switch over to blades. And the third guy in line, if they don't clean up, I'll clean up. And I just tend to throw regular 8s or whatever, 8 9s. And you just got to keep your rod tip up a little bit higher. And by higher, you know, just keeping it straight up. And then as that bait, again, you get a idea of where that weed edge is. Then I can start dropping that rod tip down as deep as I can into the water before the bait's even close to the boat. So I can, again, attain that depth as that bucktail works its way down those weed edges.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really utilize their rod for that stuff. You know, and they think that, oh, you got to reel a bucktail fast over the weeds to keep it out of the weeds. It's like, no, yeah, you're kind of in a goofy position to set, you know, if you do get bit in the weeds like that, but you're doing yourself a favor by just keeping that bait moving at a slower speed, which the fish obviously like, keeping it in their strike zone, and keeping it way out of the weeds without, you know, burning it too fast.
Right. And then those are great tips. I mean, I should probably utilize some of those as well. I tend to reel in the bucktails way too fast, I think. And I think we definitely get caught up in that.
Yeah. And there's days where burning a bucktail works. You know, I was over in Vilas County just last week for a couple days, and you know, I was telling the young lady I was with, I was like, man, you really burn those bucktails around here. And she was like, this is how they like it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to throw it the way that I do back on my waters back at home. I wasn't seeing jack squat, you know, and she was getting, you know, she lost like a 42, 43, hotter than hell. Caught a couple other ones. And I was like, damn, you know, and that's what's kind of cool with fishing with multiple people. You all get to try something a little bit different, put your minds together and find out what works and what doesn't. But on any given day out here, you know, like earlier today, I was burning a bucktail while my buddy was throwing it slow, and he had all the action this afternoon. So just kind of figuring out what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, well, it would be great to get in the boat together one of these days. You know, I know everyone's busy, so we'll see if it ends up happening, but it would be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no,
be a blast.
definitely. Come November, it's my favorite time of year because everybody's out deer hunting and not musky fishing anymore. So that means I get to set the hook on some suckers, which is always fun. And during that time, I obviously hit well-known bites with close friends. But there are some things on my checklist, especially out northeast, you know, where you guys are at, that I definitely want to check out. So give me a buzz. Let's do it. I'm sure we could,
Yeah.
sure we'd get along in the boat just fine as long as nobody runs the trolling motor into the rocks and freaks out or something.
Oh God, well
Nah.
we did that multiple times up at Vermilion. It was actually
Oh,
became
yeah.
pretty funny. We were
Oh,
just
yeah,
dying
yeah.
the whole time. Like
Well,
every
hey, if
time.
you're not getting stuck in those rocks, especially on the weather that you guys were on, you weren't catching them.
Yeah.
Because I was on
Right.
Vermilion. I was on Vermilion 4 days before the tournament started, and we caught 9 out over open water. And then that wind started picking up, and those fish were moving big time. I mean, they just
Right.
were not around, and I kind of knew it was setting up to be a good structure bite for Vermilion, which was cool for that tournament. You know,
We got fortunate there because before we went, everyone was kind of telling us there's an open water deal up there, and we were a little bit, you know, we would have done our best to figure it out, but like with no live scope, not knowing that body of water very well, we were very fortunate that we could
Oh,
look at a
yeah.
map and feel good about where we were fishing, you know.
For sure, for sure. And again, that's one of those things. Those fish were out over open water because there's no wind, and all of a sudden they had 3-4 days in a row of big winds push them up there, and you guys got to reap the benefits on that. Not just you guys, but the entire PMTT tournament, which was really cool. So
Well, we're not going to keep you from fishing much longer here. Is there anything, you know, you want to talk about here at the end? Like you got guide stuff you want to promote, any other, you know, stuff? You talked about the Northwoods 9.
yeah. Well, I do have a few open dates left still in October. I will do a handful of trips in early November as well. So if anybody's looking to get out, I do have a few trips. My September is completely booked from here on out. Today was my last day
Nice.
off, which is good. But yeah, get a hold of me if anybody ever wants to come up fishing in northwestern Wisconsin. Come check it out. It's a beautiful area, and we got some big muskies left up here, that's for sure, and a lot of action to go around too if you're looking for a first muskie or something like that. But yeah, I'm ready for a cold front. That's all I want.
Yeah,
Like, again,
Ooh, same here.
unfortunately, we're not going to get it for the tournament this week, which is a little bit of a bummer, but
I know it. Yeah, but at least the weather's going to be somewhat stable. So, I mean, I think personally, I think you guys are going to have a good midday bite out there. That's if I had to guess anything with what the weather looks like. But
yeah. Well, if you find yourself near Treelands Resort, hit us up. Let's grab some beers.
yeah, sounds good to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I will. I am good at drinking those things.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, I think we're going to get along just fine.
Yeah, right on,
Perfect.
right on. Well, no, hey guys, I really appreciate you guys having me on. That's been a lot of fun, and yeah, you know, let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
For
Cool.
sure.
Thanks for coming on, Michael.
Anytime. Good and best of luck to you guys. I'll be checking in on you to see how you guys did for the tournament. Be rooting for you.
We
Thank you
appreciate it.
much.
We need
Also-
all the luck.
Also, Michael,
well-
before we let you go, do you want to give if you want to, like your phone number or maybe like Instagram, Facebook, and like your guide service
Absolutely.
website?
Sure. So my guide service website is www.nagaguideservice.com, and my Instagram is muskyhunter21, spelled IE, not Y. I don't know why I did that, but I don't know. We all spell things differently, I suppose. And my phone number, you can reach me now at 608-695-9073. Or my email at hanson.michael608@gmail.com. And if anybody ever has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Sometimes I do get back a little late. That's because I'm out here all the time. But I appreciate people asking me questions, you know, giving me feedback or whatnot. And I always do my best to get back to each and everybody because, you know, want to be known as the nice guy in this deal. So
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll definitely have to get you on again, and we'll be in touch for sure to hopefully get out this
Absolutely.
fall.
Sounds good, guys. No, like I said, I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and kick some ass over in the Chippewa Flowage.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey,
All
good
right,
luck
man.
tonight.
right.
Go catch a big one.
Hey,
Yeah,
thanks a
good
lot.
luck.
I will try.
All right. Thanks for coming on. Take care, man.
Take care, boys.
All right. Well, that was really awesome to have Michael Hanson on. It's always good to chat with another just absolute diehard. I mean, I think he's, you and him, Gus, are in that same upper echelon category of just total nut jobs that are just, I mean, just love to freaking musky fish, which
Musky psychos.
I just respect it. I can't get
Yeah.
enough. I mean, when he was
He
talking
might have
about
me by a little bit.
dude, some of
He's-
those stories and driving around at crazy hours in the night and morning, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I'm exactly on the Michael Hanson level of fishing nonstop. I am definitely trying to get there. I got that drive and passion, but man, that guy, it sounds like he doesn't even sleep, but I'm sure he gets in a few hours here and there. But yeah, we can't thank him enough for coming on, and we definitely look forward to having him on the podcast again, or maybe getting out and fishing with them. So with that being said, Brian, do you got any update with the merch, or maybe a little bit of something on kind of a post that I think we're gonna be planning on doing for a giveaway?
Yeah. It's still on the same timetable as what we gave in our last podcast update. So we will be getting the merch in on Tuesday. However, we still have some of the background stuff to figure out, in terms of the website and how to purchase them. So you won't be able to purchase them on Tuesday, but we will be receiving them. And then the following Monday, so a week from today, is when we will be posting the giveaway. So stay tuned.
What are the dates on those? Because it might get people get confused, because this is coming on
Monday the 25th.
There we
will
go.
be the day that the giveaway is announced. It'll be on the Muskies on Tap Instagram. Make sure to follow now if you're not already to be alert for that giveaway. We'll be posting all the rules on there. And then the winner will be announced on Friday, the 30th of September.
29th.
29th. Sorry, bad math.
Yep.
29th of September, the winner will be announced live on the Muskies on Tap Instagram. So stay tuned.
Sweet. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, we're just gonna get some things done behind the scenes so that everyone can purchase these hoodies, pint glasses, and stickers, hopefully without any hiccups. So we don't want to rush anything. We just don't want to have too many issues. And also, this podcast will come out Thursday after, during the day of Max and I's last pre-fishing day for the Chippewa Flowage. So we're gonna pretty much have one thing on our minds, and that's just gonna be tournament fishing. And so just stay tuned. We'll give more updates probably on the Muskies on Tap Instagram page for purchasing the merch as well as the podcast. So I am super pumped to get to the Chippewa Flowage. Max, I don't know about you. I would probably think so. This is going to be some brand new fishing for us. Flowage fishing is, I wouldn't say our forte, but we're going to have to find a bite and stick to our guns over the course of this tournament, because this is a slightly new format going on here with the championship, and it's our first ever time going to one.
Yeah, I think pre-fishing will probably be more important than maybe it's ever been, just solely with how different it sounds like the Chippewa Flowage is from the west end of the east end, the north end of the south end. It apparently fishes like multiple different lakes in that one system. So with weather being what it is in the upcoming few days here, there's as there is in every tournament, there's going to be a bite going on at some point in time on some, part of the lake. And we're just going to really have to work hard and figure out what, to increase our chances of being on that right area at the right time. But yeah, it's definitely an intimidating body of water. If you look at a topographical map, I mean, there's seems to be a lot of isolated stuff, a lot of neck down areas, a lot of good weed areas, a lot of rocks, a lot of timber. I mean, it just seems to really kind of have it all. Some deeper parts. It's going to be really interesting to see. You're putting 30-ish boats out on that type of body of water for this tournament. Be curious to see kind of how it all unfolds. I mean, I'm excited just to get out there and kind of take it all in. It's a historic body of water. There's definitely a chance that those big fish, like we had up in Vermilion out there, obviously has a very long history of a big fish out there on the flowage. So should be exciting. I'll be curious to see kind of what, like I said, how it all unfolds, where people are going to be catching fish, what they're going to be getting them on. I think it's just going to be a very, very interesting tournament. I'm excited. I mean, I feel like it's going to be a mental grind out there.
A mental battle for sure, since you get the whole Friday and Saturday for the start of the tournament. And then of course, Sunday, if you catch a fish on either the first 2 days to move on. But Brian, I know you gave us some odds at the beginning of this podcast, but do you think you could find in the Vegas booklet on the over-under on tournament largest fish? What do you think the chip's going to produce? Because we all know that it is your favorite body of water that you still have barely ever fished.
And the world record holding body of water. So with that being said, looks like Vegas has got it at 48 3/4. That's the line. I think that's a pretty good line on their part. Probably one of their best lines yet. But yeah, the chip is kind of a blessing and a curse for someone that's new to the lake. Because when we were on it, our first time, so many spots look good. Almost every spot you kind of look at and you're like, oh, it might be a musky over there. Probably is musky over there. And you could probably take a lifetime on that lake to fish every spot. So I'll be curious to see the results for sure and see if there's, definitely a pattern with where people are catching them.
Yeah, I can agree. With tournaments, that's probably the fastest way you learn bites, either through other people or yourself, because you're just, you got the set times to fish, the set body of water, you got to fish it. So you got to put something together during that time, no matter the conditions. So if you guys don't have anything else to add here tonight, if we want to wrap this up, Brian, take it away if all is well. Max, got anything to add? Or
I'm good. Ready to get this week started. Yeah, Brian, what you got for us tonight?
All right, everybody. That does it for another episode of Muskies on Tap. This week is what we've been waiting for, the grand finale of the PMTT Trail. It's going to be going down. There's going to be haymakers thrown. Hopefully no bad blood, but you know how that goes, and there's money on the line. The boys are sitting on top of the poles, and now they're hoping to maintain that position to the end of the tournament over there in beautiful Hayward, Wisconsin, guys. Hope you guys and all the other tournament anglers have a blast this weekend. Good luck to all. A little bit more luck on the mock crew. Go get them.